Good morning, traders. I'm Emily Bonney, the CEO of the Investment Banking Institute and your host here at NewsWare's Trade Talk. Joining me is trading anchor Bill Olson, who brings more than 30 years of institutional trading experience to our program. At Trade Talk, we provide the facts, themes, and trading ideas for the day ahead. Today is Monday, May 6th. We return to trading on this Monday after a cooler than expected jobs report on Friday met a hotter market. On Friday, all three major indices closed in the green, making it a winning week on Wall Street. The Dow advanced nearly 450 points or 1.2%. The S&P 500 added 1.26%. The Nasdaq jumped almost 2%. Bill, let's dive into a new week with what is happening in the markets this morning.
Hi, yes. Good morning, Emily. I'm watching the S&P. We're showing a gain of 0.4%, so it's very positive this morning walking in. That non-farms payroll report on Friday. It wasn't a great number. It was much lower than what was expected. But that's actually a catalyst for the markets because that's what the Fed wants to see, lowering, unemployment. They want to see employment lowering, and that's exactly what that report showed. And we were expecting a number of like 240, and it came in 177, I think. So that was a big switch. And then over the weekend, you had earnings come out which were positive for Berkshire Hathaway. That was a big one. This morning, I see that Lowe's reported a beat, so that's good. Middle East tensions still remain a factor. Then we're kind of keeping an eye on Europe. London is closed for a holiday, so there's no action going on the FTSE, but the DAX is up 180 points or 1%. The CAC is up 69 points or 0.87%. The fact is, with in Germany, that the ECB chief Philip Lane, he's like their chief economist. He feels that the ECB could be issuing a rate cut in June. That's what he said in a Spanish newspaper. So that's boosting the morale of the markets in Europe this morning. And then you have France, where they had the PMI and the services PMI surpassing expectations from the previous readings. That's a positive. That's why you're seeing CAC up 0.86% this morning. Then we're looking over at Asia. Tokyo was closed for another holiday. But you look at Hong Kong, the Hang Seng, up 102 points. That's 0.55%. That's 10 days in a row of that index moving higher. You don't see that too often. 10 straight days in a row straight higher. In China, China's market gained 1.16%. Remember, they were closed Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday of last week. So this is kind of a reaction to the news from the FOMC meeting, the non-farm payrolls. But you also got to point out that in China, those Caxton, China's services PMI, it did, they did fall in April, but it was matching expectations. So it's not going to take a lot of wind out of, the positive action in the markets. That's why you saw, that the Shanghai exchange jump 1.16% overnight. We're keeping an eye on oil. Oil is moving this morning. We got oil up, WTI $78.90 a barrel. That's up a little over 1%. We got Brent trading at $83.67 a barrel. That's up 0.86%. The ceasefire talks in the Middle East between Hamas and Israel, they appear to be falling apart. Israel looks to be ready to move forward on its ground campaign into Rafah. That's gonna, come take back some of that premium that we've lost over the last few days. Because those ceasefire talks actually sounded positive, but I was never really positive on it. I just think there's, if Hamas agrees to a ceasefire, then what do they have? They have a loss of income coming in because the people that are supporting them will stop sending money. So, Hamas isn't really likely to agree to these peace talks. And, their demands were kind of a non-starter for Israel. So, oil could continue to move higher off of that news. But that's what I have for you in terms of morning market update this morning, Emily.
And Bill, as we get into this Monday, we may, have been sort of over the peak of earnings season, but there's still notable companies coming out today and this week. So give us a look at what we should be watching when it comes to earnings action.
I hear what you're saying about, notable companies. Yeah, we got a number of notable companies coming out this week. But it is a heavy week for earnings. We got like, thousands of companies reporting, just not all S&P 500. Those guys have already pretty much already reported. But there's a lot of action going on, so that's not slowing me down at all. This morning we saw Lowe's, ticker L as in Larry. They beat by 44 cents, and they did that on higher revenue. You look at the stock, it's unchanged this morning, but last trade was 76.40. Bid offer 72 to 94. So yeah, that's opening up higher. Then we have Fresh Pet, ticker FRPT, Frank, Richard, Paul, Tom. They beat by 60 cents, and they did that on higher revenue. You look at Fresh Pet this morning, it's up 13.17%. Nice. Upcoming, this afternoon, we have Palantir, ticker PLTR, Paul, Larry, Tom, Richard. Their EPS is 8 cents. Expected move is 14.83%. We also have ticker VRTX, Vertex Pharmaceutical, Victor, Richard, Tom, X-Ray. Their EPS is $4.10. Expected move is 3.99%. Then tomorrow morning, we got Datadog, ticker DDOG, David, Oscar, Grace. Their EPS is just 34 cents, and the expected move is 11.25%. Then the big one of the big ones for the week is Walt Disney, ticker DIS, David India Sam. Their EPS is $1.09 with the expected move of 6.60%. So yeah, we got a lot of good earnings upcoming, Emily.
And a quick note here, we're still, looking ahead to those earnings for Palantir, and that was your pick of the day on Friday. So we're going to take a check-in on that before we sign off on today's show. So stick with us till the end. For now, we're going to get to the day's economic events. A couple of economic events throughout the week to keeping an eye on. Again, we're constantly trying to gather clues on what the Fed may or may not be doing next. And, Friday was one of those examples, but we still have some to look ahead to. So, Bill, what is going on in terms of economic events?
Yeah, it's a pretty light week for economic events the week ahead. But today at 1 p.m. you got that loan officer survey. That's a quarterly report. That's interesting. You got some good Fed speak. Richmond Fed Thomas Barkin, he's going to be speaking at 12:50 p.m. Today, and then of course New York Fed Bank President John Williams is scheduled to speak at 1 p.m. Today. Big news on the tape is, hey, markets appear satisfied with the recent weakness in economic data points, as the recent slowdown in the payrolls report is really kind of a catalyst for the Fed to lower interest rates. That's the opinion. So, that's why you're seeing this market in green. John Williams, he's really pushing for that 2%, and he's willing to take whatever actions are needed in order to achieve the goal. He spoke late on Friday, along with Chicago Fed Bank President Austin Goolsbee. But that's what I have for you in terms of economic update this morning, Emily.
And keeping track of all of that, you're also watching other types of news on this Monday morning, using your NewsWare and your NewsWare alerts. You're looking at all sorts of data and information, things like merger news, guidance news, shareholders meetings, other catalysts. You group stocks together like your FANG stocks, your Dow 30 stocks, so you can see trends for the trading day. So Bill, what else do you see is possibly moving the markets today?
Doing a quick data check. I'm looking at my Dow stocks. I'm showing 5 lower, 1 unchanged. The rest are higher. So actually 6. There's 6 lower now. 6 lower, 1 unchanged. The rest are higher. You're looking at your FANG stocks. Amazon just ticked lower, so you get 2 lower. Amazon just ticked higher. It's essentially flat. So you're showing 1 lower, and the rest are higher. The big gains are being seen in Meta this morning, in Tesla. You're looking at some of the news behind the events, and listen, Apple's down hard. But one of the positive things is really scheduled for tomorrow, where Apple is expected to announce a new iPad Pro models, iPad Air models, along with an updated Apple Pencil and Magic Keyboard accessories. They got a small event going on tomorrow, and I think those releases are scheduled to come out around 9 a.m. Something to keep an eye on. Google, it is ticking a little higher this morning. But listen, on Friday, after 2 days of closing arguments and 10 weeks of testimony, we now await the judge's decision on the U.S. Antitrust case against Google. Could go either way. I'm not sure as of yet. Tesla, Tesla is interesting because it really seems to be focusing more of its efforts on robotics and driverless cars these days. So, the stock is trading higher, up almost 1% this morning. Moving on over to the Dow Jones 30 stocks, and we got to talk about Apple because, listen, Warren Buffett came out and announced that he cut its stake in Apple. He still believes it to be a good stock, but it's time to start taking some profits, he felt. So he lowered his position in his shares of Apple. It was announced on Saturday. Boeing, we got to keep an eye on shares of Boeing, up almost 0.5% this morning. They got that Starliner space craft. Now it's expected to do a launch today. So, in ahead of the launch, the stock goes up. Stock typically goes up. If the launch is pulled, the stock will pull back. But we'll have to wait. Maybe take a look at the weather and where the launches happens. I think it's happened in Florida. In terms of merger news, we're talking Paramount Global, ticker PARA. Stock's trading higher this morning, which is interesting to see because it really did sell off on Friday. But this morning we're showing up, about 3% this morning to 1330. Their exclusive period of talks with Skydance that ended on Friday. It could be extended, but Apollo and Sony offered that big cash deal, and so now Paramount Global has to at least consider it. And they could use this as a bargaining chip in order to get a better deal from Skydance. So Skydance deal is very favorable to Sherry Redstone, one of the key voting blocks there. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. But I wouldn't be surprised if we get a better offer from Skydance for Para, and I think that's why you're seeing that stock kick higher this morning. In terms of guidance news, Treehouse Foods, ticker THS, Tom Henry, Sam. These guys came out and they said that their Q2, they see Q2 revenue coming in 770 million to 800 million. Tyson Foods, ticker TSN, Tom, Sam, Nancy, they see 2024 revenue essentially flat to 2023. Street estimates is at 53.01 billion. Okay, talking shareholders events. Lilly, ticker LLY, they're having a shareholders meeting today at 8:30 a.m. American Express, ticker AXP, they're having a shareholders meeting today at 9 a.m. And Uber Technologies, ticker UBER, Uncle Boy Edward Richard, they're having a shareholders meeting today at 11 a.m. A couple of ones to keep an eye on. In terms of catalyst calls, HWC, Henry William Charlie. This is Hancock and Whitney. Citibank opened up a 90-day catalyst watch on the stock, and they raised the price target by $5 to $55 a share. DNB, Dun & Bradstreet, David Nancy Boyd, JP Morgan opened up a catalyst positive watch, catalyst watch on the stock, ticker DNB, David Nancy Boyd. A couple things to keep an eye on, Emily.
This is the type of data that NewsWare delivers daily. It's factual, it's market moving, and our alerting functions bring it to your attention as it happens. Go to www.newsware.com now and sign up for the trial and see for yourself the benefits that professional Newswire delivers. It is now that time of the show for the Trade Talk pick of the day. Bill, what is your pick of the day today?
Going with Datadog, ticker DDOG, David Oscar Grace. Listen, they're going to be releasing earnings tomorrow morning. Now, the EPS is 34 cents, and the expected move is 11.25%. You look at Friday's call volume, you had 29,353 versus 16,940. So that's significantly on the call side, but the open interest is not positive. 120,110 on the calls, 132,459 on the puts. A little concerning there, but the major brokers are out there. They raise price targets. They're talking price targets. 125, 150. So that's good to see. Last quarter, they lowered the full year guidance, so that really did take the stock did take a hit after they released the guidance, but. I'm anticipating this stock to start showing some gains this morning. I really want to get in at the 124 level. I need to see the trade a little weaker before entering into it, but I think that could happen, and I do think we're going to see some gains in Datadog today, ticker DDOG. I don't want to hold it into earnings, but I'm looking for my 1% then to get out. But that's my pick of the day, ticker DDOG, David Oscar Grace, Emily.
Datadog it is today. We will follow that along with you, looking for a 1% there ahead of earnings. And coming up, we're going to do recap on Friday's pick of the day, as I promised at the top of the show, so stick with us. But first, let's take a look at the current breaking headlines that have hit the tape in our hot off the press segment. Bill, take it away.
Okay, good morning. Let's see. What do we see here? What's exciting? Massimo, ticker MASI, announces FDA clearance of Stork. That's positive. ADI, March chip sales above seasonality, according to Citi. Interesting. Let's see, what else do we see here this morning? Retailers, Target, and others, they're reconsidering those self-checkout lines. It seems to be like a negative on the shopping experience, and so they might do away with some of the, or limit the amount of items that you can use when you go to a self-checkout. Kind of makes sense. I see that Berkshire Hathaway sold its position in Paramount Global. Kind of tells you the shareholders might not get the deal they're hoping for. Sherry Redstone will. Lyft and Uber, top Massachusetts court is set to consider whether the state's voters will get to decide on two ballot proposals in November that would redefine the relationship between the app-based companies like Uber and Lyft and their drivers. Interesting. Cisco is said to be delivering on platform strategy with rapid innovation across Cisco Security Cloud. That's all I'm seeing this morning, Emily.
Okay, Bill, before we dive into another week of trading, let's take a look back on Friday's pick of the day. We pointed it out early in the show, was Palantir. We are still awaiting their earnings coming out this afternoon, as you told us during your earnings rundown. I did see, an interesting news note on the company this morning that their shares have surged 36% this year and more than 200% over the last 12 months. And this is really as the company focuses on its artificial intelligence applications. As you had told us on Friday, their fourth quarter results were impressive. So we're looking at the stock here ahead of that earnings release. How did your call work out?
It worked out. It worked. I mean, look at the numbers. PLTR, Paul, Larry, Tom, Richard. Stock opened up at 23.48 and fell to 22.91. Remember, my entry point was 23. So from there, it ran to 23.33, which obviously beats the 1% goal. But you look at the stock this morning; it's trading $24.31. What is that like? 6% gain? From the entry point. So yeah, I mean, Palantir, PLTR, good winner. It was a good pick on Friday.
A nice win there, Bill. And we will check in with you tomorrow about today's Datadog pick of the day. They'll thank you, as always, for your expert insight. Join us back here tomorrow and each weekday morning this week at NewsWare's Trade Talk, when we provide the facts, themes, and trading ideas for the day ahead. Again, I'm your host, Emily Bonney, here with trading anchor Bill Olson. Traders, you know what to do. Let's go out there and make some green.